It's Boxing Day. December the 26th. Oh yeah, baby. 2016's almost gone. The misery and the carnage will last forever. And we're here kicking shit. Kicking the tin can down that road. Because nobody else gonna do it. No, nobody wants anything to do with it. Besides, we got the new lights. Woohoo. And the green screen. And you can't tell the difference until I throw my arms up and go, wait, his hands didn't disappear. Ooh, surely that's a good sign. Hell yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And so, nobody knows what that is? Who put that song in there? Stop that, man. Okay. Merry Christmas. We're rushing that New Year. New Year. We got destroyed reactor buildings. Destroyed? No, that's not destroyed. That's pretty good shape, Dana. It's supposed to be in a hell of a lot better shape. These were 190-foot reactors. I don't know if a 190-foot building is going to be the same height as a 190-foot building that's not a residential, but my guess is they're supposed to be. I know, Dana, you conspiracy theorists saying how foolish it is to even consider that the system would lie and take over and co-opt. No, they wouldn't do it. Good morning, everybody. Hello, everybody. Looks like we got a stream happening. Hi, Neil, Elaine, which is Shanigan. Hugs for everybody. Illusion. And because I haven't stopped since Christmas, or since the break, getting everything showed up on Christmas Eve, so I've been setting it all up. You can't see it. But I did shoot a video of the unboxing. We'll have to play it tomorrow. Because this morning's was about turning everything on and actually just go ahead and do a show and then tear it all down. I got to paint everything. And then put everything back up. We had to gut the whole corner. Okay. Nobody cares, Dana. Let's get on with this show. I know they do. I'm just...
No, I'm not a writer.
That happen. Here we go. I got you. Maybe. Okay. We got some rather bleak news, I would say, for the movement. We have been taken over.
I mean, having said all this stuff, I know it sounds a bit waffly, but I mean, I would like to wait and see somebody actually measure the gamma radiation spectrum of whatever it is that's supposed to be coming in and causing the irradiation of America, because it's very hard to imagine how there could be a 5-fold increase in natural background radiation from the sort of material that's coming from Fukushima. It's just too far away. But having said
that, you became a lawyer, a bizarre personality, a false idol. The plumes are well known. They're not potassium-40, they're the tracers. And the tracers, the disinformation by nuclear proponents try to confuse the public. And you can't have internal radiation or external if you go along with Busby's version, can you? Right?
I mean, I had the same problem with somebody in Brazil who was finding enormously high levels of radioactivity in the water, and he was assuming it was coming on the jet stream from Fukushima, which is impossible because it's just too far.
Okay. Like, I'm having a hard time accepting that Fukushima is too far away when we have all these models. Apparently, a few people think Busby is right. This Dr. Christopher Busby, one of the icons, allegedly, anti-nuclear, allegedly telling you that these models are not real. That's what he's doing. That's what he's done. He's saying they're not real. That's not real, even though that's the American NOAA radioactive fallout dispersal model. And forest fires don't have to go 5 kilometers up in the air to travel a long distance, but they do. And the hotter it was, the further they travel. There was an uninterrupted line. So in order to believe Busby's version, you have to ignore all that. Are you going to ignore the evidence? Is that what you're about? Would you ignore the evidence? Right? That's the question. Hear it again.
I mean, I had the same problem with somebody in Brazil who was finding enormously high levels of radioactivity in the water, and he was assuming it was coming on the jet stream from Fukushima, which is impossible because it's just too far.
Okay. Now, no matter how we look at Busby, we got all this supporting evidence.
Computer simulation shows how radioactivity is spread around the world from the disabled Fukushima Daiichi plant. The simulation was created by a group of researchers at the University of Tokyo and Kyushu University and released on Wednesday. The simulation is based on the scenario in which contaminated air was vented from the disabled number 2 reactor building on March 14th, 3 days after the massive earthquake and tsunami. Computer images showed the radioactive material was lifted 5,000 meters into the air. It was then carried by westerly winds and spread over the Pacific Ocean. The images indicate that on the 4th day after being vented, the substances reached the west coast of the United States, and on the 7th day, they approached Iceland after crossing the Atlantic. The radiation was down to 1 billionth level compared to when it was emitted on March 14th.
Yeah, but look at the plume. So think about fire balloons, how they came across, but according to Busby, of course, that's not realistic, Dana. They couldn't possibly come across. Well, why not, though, is the question, yeah? Okay. We got Arnie Gunderson from Fear Winds. Arnie spins a fabulous tale. He is a nuclear engineer. He provided the fuel pool, the fuel pools in the top left corner. The fuel pools for over 70 nuclear sites. So it's not like he doesn't know.
Unit 4 was damaged twice. It was damaged by all of the earthquakes that occurred, and it was also damaged by a series of explosions over the first week or two of the accident. So the building is structurally weakened. Now, Tokyo Electric's acknowledged that. They went in May and June of last year. This is more than a year ago, and put an enormous number of extra structural supports directly under the fuel pool.
Now, you can't get in there. You can't go in and put structures in there. You can't get in there. You die. You go within 300 feet. You're getting bombarded with gamma shine and X-rays and neutrons and gamma bursts. And oh my, it's really something. But that is the reality of what we're talking about. We're talking about an environment where only the homeless and the destitute and the victims of society are going in there. Arnie's not going in there. He's going to Tokyo, but he's not going into Fukushima nuclear Daiichi and talking to the homeless. And he's not pointing out that you will die if you get close to that. So what Arnie done
to keep the bottom of the pool from breaking through.
Now the fuel pool is 100 feet up in the air.
And the tops of these pools are 100 feet above ground. And
now they're 100 feet above ground, but they're...
This is old TEPCO video. And Tokyo Electric had gone into the Unit 3 fuel pool just once. You remember that Unit 3 is the reactor that's blown to smithereens. The video...
Sorry. Think about what he just said to you. Blown to smithereens. Blown to smithereens.
Showed a lot of damage. But Ian Goddard was able to...
Ian Goddard thought he saw a fuel rod. Now, Ian Gardner's is nobody. This guy is a nuclear scientist. Why is he talking about a known public relations spin machine that equates everything with bananas and potato chips? Why did he align himself right away, July the 1st, 2011? Why would you do something like that?
To find one spot that there's clearly something that...
He doesn't need Ian, whatever his insignificant world is, on Arnie's side.
Appears to be discernible.
Arnie doesn't know, but Arnie manufactured the assemblies for the fuel pools for what, 20 years or something? Well, how do you ignore that?
Unit 4 was damaged twice. It was damaged by all of the earthquakes that occurred, and it was also damaged by a series of explosions over the first week or two of the accident. So the building is structurally weakened.
Where that picture is started off, that's the fuel pool, and there's another one in the black over there in the top right-hand side of the building. But these buildings are completely destroyed, and then they gutted them long before they tried to remove the pools that are over 100 feet up
Now,
in the air.
Tokyo Electric's acknowledged that. They went in.
Now, you cannot get in there. You can't go in there. Tokyo don't go in there. Arnie can't go in there. You can't. Your suit got to be like 20 feet thick or something. It can't be done.
In May and June of last year.
And he knows the fuel pools are not there. Look at it. It's not there. That's the building. He's telling you.
This is more than a year ago.
He's not the only one.
Put an enormous number of extra structural supports directly under the fuel pool.
Now, to do that would be a miracle. You would be like Jesus shit to go in and do anything, period. It doesn't work that way. Your organs melt. And if you get that close, they're melted in a few moments, but you're dead before that happens.
To keep the bottom of the pool from breaking through.
That shit crazy is more like it. Here's another one, CNN.
We are here inside Reactor 4 at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant that was severely crippled during the earthquake and tsunami of 2011, leading to the country's worst nuclear disaster.
Does that look like the worst nuclear disaster to you? Has somebody lost their friggin' minds? Is there nobody on the planet with a back belt? How come Arnie didn't come out and say that was bullshit? How come Busby didn't come out and say that that is bullshit? How hard could that be? Right? Think about that one. How hard could it be to come out and say these buildings are destroyed and that there's no fool's pool anywhere to be found, which was the reactor cores? How hard would it be to come out and say the pool on the right is not in the pool on the left for Arnie, who made the assemblies for the pool on the right? Why would he keep that fable alive? Because there's 5 reactor cores in the pool. 5. There's only 1 in the reactors, but 5 upstairs in the pool. And they're in the pool.
If I can just add to that very briefly, there are 2 things that make the problem of the spent fuel easier to deal with, and 1 thing that makes it harder to deal with. The harder problem is the one that Ian has just mentioned, the fact that the fuel is not inside the containment. The 2 easier problems, or the 2 easier aspects, are that the fuel pools, although they have in most of these reactors quite a lot of fuel in them, perhaps as much as 10 years worth of spent fuel, by this time are not generating as much heat as obviously the fuel in the core.
Yeah, but don't ignore that. I should have chopped that part off because it doesn't matter. They're kept there for 10 years with all the hot fuel. They're being irradiated by each other. That's why they keep them there. They're so hot they boil off 120,000 liters of water a day into your communities full of what they call tritiated water, but that's bombarded with neutrons, gamma shine, X-rays, and the thousands of isotopes are assimilated into the water because most of them are water solutable. That's evaporated in your community by proxy. They keep it in the water because you couldn't get in the building if you didn't. When you lose the water, You can't get close to it. When it detonates, catches fire, blows up, etc., etc. Okay, let's keep going. So here's another, at the same time as all these lawyers were out there in full swing.
They're taking us to Reactor 4. It was offline when the tsunami hit, but a powerful hydrogen explosion left the nuclear fuel here in a very precarious situation. They've now succeeded in moving it to a secure location.
Now he's faking. He's faking being inside of the building on your left. Yeah? He's faking it. He's not the only one. Arnie's not the only one, but he's the one that's supposed to be, and Helen, Caldicott, and Busby are supposed to be the good guys, and these guys are supposed to be the bad guys. But both of them refuse to tell you what the buildings look like on the right. Say the one on the left is not real, the one on the right is. Both of them refuse to do what you're looking at because I done it. I put the pictures on the right. And the media on the left. Everybody's lying to you. But Arnie's the go-to guy. Helen Caldicott, the go-to interviews. And they're mentioned in a lot of these stories you're looking at right now, if not all of them. Motherboard, physics.org. But what Arnie, Busby, and Caldicott are supposed to be the champions to come out and tell you that is not real. That said is lying. And we don't care. If they lie once, that means they're lying constantly, and then everybody's repeating that lie and every other lie. They tell you some truth, but then they tell you all the lies. Do you really believe the set door is inside the building on the right? Because you can't get in there for another 3,000 years if you're lucky. The water truck was a distraction. See the water truck? On your left of the picture, look at the left top right corner, that water truck on the right. Right, that was the distraction. Oh, they got water in the pool, but the pool doesn't exist. When they got ready to remove the fuel, before they got that building structure on the right, they built with cranes and homeless. Before that, the truck is missing on the left. So there's no fuel pools. Period. Right? See it again? No truck. The truck on the right was the distraction, the misrepresentation. Gunderson knew it, see? He knew the buildings on the right weren't in the one on the left. As simple as that. He knew the roof wasn't there. That roof was there. Do you think that pump was going to work? Now, Helen says, oh, they're really tidy people. When she was confronted. But here's Helen on Unit 3. Look at it. To your left. This is the building she's going to talk about. I'm not the bad person for saying, hey, hang on, wait a second. She is for doing what she's doing.
And especially Building 3 is very fragile. It's still got a huge cooling pool on its roof, protected by nothing. The molten core is melted.
The fuel pool is not there. Look at it. It's not there.
Its way down.
It's not there. The truck is not even trying to pump water in it on the right. Look at it.
Down onto the concrete of the containment vessel, but maybe into the earth. And if that...
There's the fuel pool.
...collapsed, there would be a nuclear inferno.
Now, look at the building on the right she's talking about. Let's do it again.
And especially Building 3 is very fragile. It's still got a huge cooling pool on its roof, protected by nothing. The molten core has melted its way down onto the concrete of the containment vessel, but maybe into the earth. And if that collapsed, there would be a nuclear inferno.
Well, it collapsed, and there was a nuclear inferno.
So this is really why we've been brought here. Where I'm standing is on top of what used to be reactor building number 4.
Used to be. They're not the only ones lying. Like, I'm not saying Helen Caldicott and Busby and Gunderson are the only ones that are lying, but I'm saying they're the anti-nuclear activists that everybody's running to for information and are being fed lies that are destroying the planet, destroying Earth, destroying the 8 million species on the planet. Period. I was out in the boat Christmas Eve for 2.5 hours. There was a couple of whales hanging out here. There were humpbacks, 2 of them. And it was shallow water they were hanging out in. Less than 200 feet for the most part. And there wasn't much on the sounder at all that they were feeding on. There was some feed there, though. And there was 6 sea lions, about 50 feet behind them, chasing them everywhere. That's unusual. Sea lions can forage easily on their own. That's really unusual. And they're the residential sea lions out here in front of my place. There used to be 300 of them. Let's keep going.
Building 4 is also similarly fragile, and it's got a huge cooling pool on top with all its fuel rods, but they have...
So you're scratching your head. A fuel pool on top with all the fuel rods. See how quick. So on top of the building, in that building is this beautiful buildings on the right. She enforced the laws of the sick and disgusting, pathetic nuke industry's puke machine. It's an utter betrayal, and it has to stop. There's no middle ground on this one. They got to go away. They're done. Caldicott, Busby are false idols and dangerous, very dangerous, scary, frightening. These are worse than any wars ever committed against humanity, is what they've done to us by misleading us and misrepresenting the truth.
I've been removing them, and it's been a very delicate procedure, and they've removed almost all. So if that collapsed now, I think it would probably be okay.
So she couldn't come out for some reason and say, hey, everybody, the building on the right is not true. The building down below is not in the building above it, folks. They're lying to you. Danger, danger, danger. For God's sakes, wake up, folks. These guys are pulling the rug out from underneath you. Caldicott doesn't come out and say all the other nuclear plants were in similar distress. So many forecasts. It makes you wonder what Busby was up to. Because Busby does interviews at quite a long time after.
Having said all this stuff, I know it sounds a bit waffly, but I mean, I would like to wait and see somebody actually measure the gamma radiation spectrum
of what's alleged to be falling out. Well, they did. There it is, there. They did, man. It's right here. It's right there. Oh, one of my lights went down. Smurfed up. There's the forecast right there. It's right there. It's right here. Busby. Not only that, look at this. This comes over too. But Busby can't figure it out. Well, he picked up 30 million bags of this shit. But you got a hard time wrapping his mind around the facts? Really? You can't wrap your mind around aerosol or pollution or forest fires, how they work? How is that possible?
Having said all this stuff, I know it sounds a bit waffly, but I mean, I would like to wait and see somebody actually measure the gamma radiation spectrum of whatever it is that's supposed to be coming in and causing the irradiation of America, because it's very hard to imagine how there could be a 5-fold increase in natural background radiation from the sort of material that's coming from Fukushima. It's just too far away. But having said
having propagated out a massive lie that the jet streams are not real?
I mean, I had the same problem with somebody in Brazil who was finding enormously high levels of radioactivity in the water, and he was assuming it was coming on the jet stream from Fukushima, which is impossible because it's just too far.
And I took a couple of days, for goodness sakes. Model after model, country after country, headline after headline, showing the disposition, documenting its signatures. We know these are just tracers. They're just tracers. What we're looking at, that meant all the other nasty stuff came in. We know with 20 million particles of iodine per liter of rainwater. 55 is an evacuation zone. 55 is an evacuation zone. Think about it. There's 10 times more 132, 30 times more 133 iodine per liter in that liter. 20 times or 10 times more 132, 30 times more 133 that ionizes and radiates your thyroid glands, 9 times more effective than the 131. And there's 31 times more iodine, 129. But these are just tracers. But if we put our faith in Busby and debate use his equations.
I mean, I had the same problem with somebody in Brazil who was finding enormously high levels of radioactivity in the water, and he was assuming it was coming on the jet stream from Fukushima, which is impossible because it's just too far.
Yeah. The buildings are destroyed. It's as simple as that, yeah? There's no if, there's no buts, there's no maybes, there's no, could be. The jet streams are real. The fuel pools are not there. They're not there. Documentation, endless, that was out there available. He would rather wait to see proof, but the proof was endless, and he knows how to find it. But I'm a bad person for rejecting him, for rejecting Caldicott, for rejecting Gundersons and people of that ilk. Like the CNN people that told you they were in there, the ABC people that told you were in there. I showed you the clip. Showed you MIT telling you that 10 years of fuel is in the pools. That's 5 reactor cores. That's why Gunderson, Caldicott, and Busby are doing what they're doing. Oh, but the core is melted down. But no, the 5 reactor. Don't say those words. 10 years of fuel up there, 5 reactor cores. Don't say those words. The fuel pool, a fool's pool. That's just the way it is. Once again, we're at that moment. I got to go and pick up the paint. And we got to buy all kinds of cables to plug all these lights in. These are our rechargeables, and it's just USB. And so you'll find the audio is a lot quieter. And that we haven't stopped since Christmas Eve, so I could do a show Monday morning. All night, Christmas morning, I went to bed at 4 o'clock in the morning, and with the green screen, everything cleaned out and finally tacked up to have a boo at it. Now I got to rip it all down. I'm going to go get paint, and I'll work all day, all night, get it organized, and get started again tomorrow morning. And in a couple of days, I'll be back up to speed. Pretty happy, thrilled, humbled, and I have to come out and nail these people to the wall. That's what I'll do. And they deserve to be nailed to the wall. No false idols allowed on this planet anymore. We're tired of it. We're frightened of it. We're humiliated by it. We're demoralized by people like that, who we put our faith in, our trust in, our hopes in, our dreams in. We put it all in there. We backed them thick and thin. But when we looked, we found them to be more than wanting. We found them to be deceptive. We found them to be out of control and deceitful and malicious and in reality, maniacal. To lie like they've done. It's not my fault. I have to reject them. And if you don't want to, it's because you're stupid or you're a part of that system. There's no in between. There's the evidence. You ought to look at the evidence for what it is, or you're a PR firm. That's the end of that conversation. Hugs for everybody. Take care, folks.